Ex-girlfriend's parents shamed me for breaking up over her open relationship request, so I shared our recorded conversation with them. I, 26 male, broke up with my girlfriend of 4 years Mary, 27, about a month ago, because she asked me to open our relationship. It is /was/ and always will be a major line in the sand for me, something that I have opened up to her about in the past. We've had a great relationship and the only thing that stands out, and the only reason it stands out now is because of this situation, is she progressively started making a lot more sexual jokes about some of our shared friends over the last few months. Some involved her being with them and others were three-way jokes etc. I won't lie, I played along a little but I consistently made some joking response along the lines of you're more than enough for me and or I don't like sharing. Never took any of it seriously, because, why would I? Until she asked and I found out / realized that she was probably trying to gauge my response and see how open I was. Mary asked when we were getting ready for bed about a month ago kinda bluntly. I was scrolling on my phone and she was getting changed and goes, if I asked you to open the relationship, would you? This might sound super corny, but it was like I had an out-of-body experience and all of the above hit me at once. All the jokes and comments so far made sense in a she's trying to butter me up to the idea kind of way and went really numb for a second. To her credit, she must have seen how freaked out I was and asked if I was okay. I pretended I didn't hear her and asked her to repeat herself and she was really hesitant too, kept saying she didn't say anything, and only repeated it when I insisted. Then, I went to voice notes, set it to record and put my phone down to talk to her. I don't remember much of it, just that I tried to stay calm and keep her talking, but the note is just over an hour and a half long and it feels like I'm listening into a conversation that happened between two strangers. She trickled truth all the way through it and ultimately stuck to the idea that she hadn't been cheating. She didn't have any one person in mind but had been fantasizing about mutual friends and people at work and seemed to get the idea that they'd be open to something if she asked. A lot of it is her being defensive and me trying to needle information out of her without it escalating into an argument. A lot of me placating her and trying to make her feel comfortable enough to keep talking. The apartment is mine and I suggested we take a break a few nights later, so she went to stay with a friend for the weekend. By the next Monday I'd spoken to some of my friends and my sisters, separately, and come to the conclusion that we were done and suggested she started looking for somewhere else to stay. She was upset but didn't really argue and had the vast majority of her stuff out, and at her parents' house, by the end of the week. So, coming to 2 days ago, her mom reached out over WhatsApp to say she was disappointed in how I'd handled everything. The message wasn't really framed in a way that she was reprimanding me, more that she wished we could have worked it out. She then added me to a group chat with her husband, ex's stepdad, and they both kinda tag-teamed me saying that we could work it out, I was making a mistake and that I shouldn't overthink things. I eventually got it out of them that my ex had fed them a very vague story that we had broken up because she'd wanted to take the next step in our relationship and that I'd freaked out, we'd argued and she'd been effectively kicked out. Her stepdad was leaning on the fact that he thought I was more mature than this, and her mom just kept repeating how disappointing this whole situation was. So, I was pissed. In the heat of the moment, I told them I had the recording of our conversation that I could send that would explain what she actually meant about taking the next step. I initially tried to email it to them, but it was being a ball ache so I eventually shared it via Drive. In the meantime, I took a few screenshots of my ex and I's messages, ones where she had made jokes and comments about sex with our friends and a lady from her office, and sent them along to that shared chat group. I haven't heard back since. Again, it's been 2 days, and I don't feel as vindicated anymore. A good few of my ex's comments were about other women, and I'm freaking out because I don't know how, if at all, open she's been about her sexuality with them. I also think I shouldn't have engaged at all and I shouldn't have felt the need to prove my innocence to either of them. Ida? I've checked in with friends, and over social media, and it doesn't look like there's been any fallout. Also, my ex blocked me a week ago, before I spoke to her parents, so I can't really contact her without going in person. And, at this point, is it too late to even give her a heads up or check in? To address a few points I have seen in multiple comment. We don't live in the US and we have no laws on recording private conversations on the books. I am not proud of doing it, but it wasn't illegal. Mary and I had several mature, calm conversations about what we both wanted out of this relationship. Mary wasn't sure if she wanted to stay and kind of admitted to self-sabotaging by asking about opening the relationship. Mary and I have been friends since we were 11. Her mom was my coach when I swam competitively and our friend group and families are very close and intermingled, so she was wary about what would happen if we went on a break or fully broke up. I was not trying to punish her for being open to polyamory. Mary and I are both bi and, when I was in my last year of high school I was involved in an inappropriate relationship with a teaching assistant. He was arrested and registered as a sex offender, but during the time we were involved, he convinced me to be with other people as well. He effectively pimped me out for a year and physically assaulted me when I eventually said no and tried to cut him off. Mary knew all of the above, as she helped me through it at the time, and I was very clear that I can't do something like that again. I know that what I went through wasn't an actual open relationship, but it was very much framed as one and that has stuck with me. I would never put down other people for doing it, but I made this all very clear to Mary in the other serious relationship I was in before her. I've carried a lot of issues from then into future relationships, and I am in therapy and have worked with Mary to not punish her for what other people have done to me, but for as great and supportive Mary was, she did have an issue with trying to gaslight me. She would say one thing and then, typically during an argument, would vehemently argue otherwise and genuinely make me question myself. It took her coming to therapy with me, and me sometimes showing her texts, for her to realize this was a problem, and we had been working on it together. Me recording her was still not right, but it wasn't an attempt to gather something incriminating, it was just a response. It was a poor response that I shouldn't have done, but it wasn't malicious, nor did I intend to send it to anyone at the time. Also, since making this post and reading your replies, I have gone back to her parents to apologize. I did initially try and tell them that she wasn't being honest and that I wanted to keep things private, but they kept going on about me being immature and that this was disappointing. Update 1. I understand that people don't like the idea of being recorded by an intimate partner, especially when having an intimate conversation, and you, naturally, support Mary on that front out of solidarity, but all I can say is, you do not know what Mary is like or what our relationship was like either. A little before she came to therapy with me, and the incident that pushed me to try and get her to come with me, Mary texted me to pick her up a Smarties McFlurry on the way home from work. When I brought it home and gave it to her, she told me she asked for a dairy milk one they don't even do here anymore, and rolled her eyes at me, not listening to her again. Trying to show her what she had sent led to a 15-minute shouting match, which resulted in her throwing her ice cream at the wall and shattering my phone screen. That's one incident of many. She once told me I was flirting for holding the door open for a group because there were girls you were clearly trying to impress with them, and went on such a long tirade about my male chivalry was just a selfish way to gain attention from women beyond her. I am not apologizing anymore for recording her. I wouldn't have had such a visceral need to defend myself if I wasn't with someone who kept hurting me. I made that recording because I knew she would lie, and she did. But I thought she would lie to me, not to other people, and I wanted it strictly so I had her words, there on my phone, should she start claiming she said anything else. At the end of the day though, we didn't end up having any of that and we parted maturely. I understand that a lot of you won't believe that was my intention, and I'll just have to live with that. Beyond all that, I am still sorry for sending it to her parents as a way to get back at her. Her parents have always been very pro-LGBTQ+, so although it wasn't right to out her, I was massively overthinking them harming her or kicking her out. At most, exposing her interest in polyamory would have embarrassed her, but nothing I shared would have put her in any danger. That being said, I saw red during that exchange and saw this as a way to finally show people I wasn't misremembering things. It was spiteful and vindictive, and I can see so many different ways I could have dealt with the situation more calmly, but I was angry and I didn't do any of them. And for that I am still sorry. Like I said in the edit to my previous post, I apologize to her parents. I apologized for getting angry, cussing them out, and for sharing private information about their daughter to them. I fully acknowledged that I was being spiteful and that it was a harsh escalation of a response. Anne and Paul, what I'll call them for this post, accepted it at face value, but asked if I could come over for lunch this afternoon so we could have an actual conversation. It was nice, but really awkward too. Mary wasn't there. I apologized again, and Paul and Anne said they were sorry for interfering and not giving me a chance to tell my side. We both agreed we'd acted inappropriately and that, going forward, we wouldn't involve ourselves in this topic. Left things on relatively better terms, but I'm not going to talk to them for a while. Above everything, they are Mary's parents and they will always be in her corner, as parents should be, so keeping my distance is in everyone's best interests. As for Mary, she unblocked me late last night and let loose a tirade of angry messages. They mostly, of course, consisted of how creepy and disgusting I was for recording her. Again, I recorded her because I knew she'd lie, and all she did was prove my point, to which, despite still cussing me out, she had no real response for. I got from her, Anne and Paul, that things are understandably awkward, after what I'd shared, but she's still staying with them, for the time being. They've not discussed it with her, beyond letting her know they'd heard the recording and now knew she'd lied, but there has been no indication of negative consequences. And that's it. I'm reeling from 4 years of a relationship being over, of my girlfriend and best friend using my own trauma as a way to make me break up with her and then pretending everything was okay just to lie about me behind my back. But what is hurting me more is how I only now understand, from reading replies to my post and talking to my friends, that I was with yet another abuser and I am nowhere near as strong, or as over what happened to me, as I thought. Update 2. Firstly, a bit of unexpected news. Mary reached out, but not in the way I anticipated. She called to let me know she'd been in therapy addressing her own issues, particularly her habit of gaslighting and creating unnecessary drama. It's crucial to note that she didn't call looking for reconciliation. Instead, she wanted to acknowledge her part in the chaos and apologize for the pain caused, both during and after our relationship. Mary explained that her behavior stemmed from deep-seated insecurities and fears of not being enough, which manifested in those inappropriate jokes and comments. She realized her so-called jokes about opening the relationship were a misguided attempt to test the boundaries of our connection, possibly due to her own fears of commitment. She then delivered a bombshell. Remember the mutual friends and work colleagues she joked about? One of them, Jake, not his real name, had been confiding. in her about his interest in open relationships, and they occasionally engaged in these conversations more seriously than I realized. Mary clarified that nothing ever happened between them, but she believed that she had crossed an emotional line that should have stayed within the confines of our trust. Now, here's where things take a strange twist. As part of her healing journey, Mary shared with Jake that she'd misrepresented her desires and had been overly reliant on others' opinions, thus, leading to her current situation. Jake then reached out to me, seeking a sit-down over coffee. Hesitant but curious, I agreed. Our meeting was peculiar. Jake admitted he'd never intended to interfere in a relationship and expressed regret if any banter got out of hand. Surprisingly, the conversation turned into one of camaraderie, both of us bonding over unwittingly becoming unwoven threads in Mary's web of confusion. It's bizarre, but having candid conversations with someone previously at the center of a whirlwind has been unexpectedly therapeutic. Jake and I even ponder on starting a support group for people blindsided by relationship experiments, a joke, of course, but one that allowed us to find common ground where animosity could have brewed. Switching gears, I've been working hard in therapy, and it's been eye-opening. Realizing patterns from my past that led to this emotionally vulnerable situation has been both a revelation and a relief. I'm learning to set healthier boundaries for myself, recognizing red flags earlier, and most importantly, forgiving myself for past oversights. Meanwhile, Anne and Paul reached out again, this time offering apologies for their initial rush to judgment. They've seen noticeable growth in Mary during her stay with them and thanked me indirectly for the catalyst. They genuinely hope to preserve a friendship despite the circumstances, but we all recognized it would take time, if ever, and left it at that. Professionally, things have been soaring. Focusing on my career has been a productive escape and has bolstered my self-esteem during this tumultuous personal phase. In the process, I've been nominated for a leadership position at work, something I hadn't anticipated but am excited about. To everyone who's been following this saga, thank you for your insights and support throughout. If there's any takeaway from this journey, it's that vulnerability doesn't equate to weakness and that inner peace comes from understanding and accepting both your strengths and your flaws. Update 3. Firstly, let's talk about something transformative. I decided to sign up for a personal development retreat, something I'd been contemplating for a while. The retreat, titled Resilience and Renewal, promised a deep dive into self-awareness, and given everything that's happened, it seemed like precisely what I needed. The retreat was held in a serene lakeside setting, away from the hustle of daily life. It was a mix of mindfulness exercises, group therapy sessions, and individual coaching. During one of the group sessions, I found myself sharing aspects of my story, abridged, of course, and to my surprise, several others could relate. There was something profoundly healing about being surrounded by people who, though strangers, shared a silent understanding of struggles and personal growth. One particular individual, Dana, quickly became a close friend during this retreat. A middle-aged woman with a wealth of life experiences, Dana had her own story of past relationship challenges and personal rediscovery. Her wisdom was profound, and our late-night conversations beside the campfire became a pivotal part of my healing journey. Dana had a saying, "Struggles are just chapters, not entire books," which resonated deeply with me. Returning from the retreat, invigorated and with a fresh outlook, I made some significant life decisions. Number 1, it's time to move. The apartment, with its lingering memories, felt more like a museum of past hurts than a home. A fresh start seemed necessary. After checking out several places, I've settled on a cozy loft in a bustling arts district not far from my work. The change of environment has already been a salve for my soul, giving me a new canvas to paint my future. Speaking of new opportunities, that leadership position I mentioned in my last update? I got it. I'm now leading a team of bright, motivated individuals, and the responsibility, while slightly daunting, is exhilarating. It's been a real confidence booster, allowing me to channel my energy into something productive and fulfilling. Now, back to some unexpected turns. Mary and I crossed paths again, albeit unintentionally. In a city teeming with people, it seems the universe felt we still had some unfinished business. We bumped into each other at a local art exhibition, one of mutual interest. The encounter was surprisingly amicable. We exchanged pleasantries, admired some artwork together, and even shared a brief, genuine conversation about our respective self-growth journeys. It was a symbolic moment, like turning the page in a book we both authored but are now ready to move beyond. One standout aspect of this encounter was Mary's mention of our mutual friend, Jake. Fascinatingly, Mary and Jake have chosen to keep their friendship purely platonic, understanding that their previous dynamic wasn't healthy for either of them. Instead, they're both exploring individual paths toward fulfillment and personal enlightenment. Lastly, in the aftermath of all these changes, I've taken up something I never thought I would: writing. Inspired by Dana's metaphor and my own journey, I've started penning a series of short essays and vignettes about life's unpredictable nature and resilience. It's mostly for myself, a cathartic exercise, but who knows where it might lead. So, dear readers, this chapter of my life has been closed, and a new one is beginning. From here, it's all about embracing the unknown, armed with the lessons and friendships I've gathered along the way, knowing full well that the story isn't over but merely evolving. Update 4. Let's begin with a surprising and delightful twist. My writing venture has taken off in ways I never anticipated. Initially, the essays were just a personal exercise, a means to process my experiences and emotions. But encouraged by friends, and Dana, who has become a steadfast mentor, I submitted a piece to a local literary magazine. To my astonishment, they accepted it. The essay, titled Chapters Not Entire Books, appeared in their latest issue, and responses from readers have been overwhelmingly positive. This small victory has prompted me to consider compiling my writings into a book. Who knew that my journey through heartache and healing would resonate with so many others? On the residential front, the decision to move has been transformative. The Arts District loft has been a perfect haven, filled with an eclectic charm that continuously inspires creativity and comfort. Connecting with neighbors, each bringing their own stories and dreams, has been eye-opening and heartwarming, a genuine community that has become a refuge and a launchpad for new friendships. Speaking of community, I've involved myself with a local support group focusing on relational trauma and recovery. Volunteering my time to support others while learning from their experiences has been enriching. The group has granted me a sense of purpose beyond my personal healing journey, reinforcing that shared vulnerability can forge the strongest of connections. Earlier, I mentioned an art exhibition where I encountered Mary. This encounter has serendipitously led to a new chapter in our lives. Encouraged by mutual friends, Mary and I decided to meet over coffee, not to rekindle anything romantic, but to establish closure based on mutual respect and newfound understanding. This meeting was as healing as it was enlightening. We each shared our journeys, aspirations, and perspectives with a newfound honesty. Through our conversation, we recognized how we were both, in different ways, burdened by our histories and expectations, yet fiercely determined to carve new paths forward. Mary mentioned how she's been actively participating in workshops exploring identity and personal growth, using her experiences as a launchpad for self-discovery. While we agreed that staying in close contact wasn't necessary, we parted on incredibly supportive terms, confident that our past wouldn't overshadow the bright possibilities ahead for each of us. On a fun note, Dana and I remain in touch, exchanging insights and inspirations regularly. She's the one who nudged me to pull the trigger on the book idea. We're even brainstorming the idea of co-hosting a series of workshops or retreats centered around healing through storytelling and community exchange. We want to create spaces where people can translate experiences into growth and connection, my way of paying forward the wisdom I've received on my journey. To those who've been with me throughout these updates, thank you. Sharing this roller coaster has been therapeutic and validating. Your insights, advice, and encouraging words have served as gentle reminders that life's wild ride can indeed lead to meaningful destinations. What comes next? I can't say for sure. But with a heart full of hope and a spirit ready to embrace whatever unfolds, I greet each day with gratitude and an open mind. Update 5. Firstly, let's talk about the writing journey. The seed that was planted with that initial published essay has now blossomed into something far more significant than I ever expected. The book idea has truly taken shape. I've completed a draft manuscript, which is something I never imagined I'd say. Tentatively titled, The Art of Turning Pages, it weaves together stories of personal growth, resilience, and the shared human experience of navigating life's unexpected turns. My hope is to inspire others to recognize their own strength and potential, just as so many people have done for me. What's more, I've had several agents express interest in potentially representing the book. It's a surreal experience, opening doors I hadn't dared to dream about before. The feedback has been both encouraging and constructive, pushing me to refine my voice and message. Regardless of where this leads, the process itself has been a rewarding exercise in vulnerability and creativity. On the personal front, the Arts District neighborhood continues to be a nurturing oasis. I've thrown myself into local activities, most notably becoming involved in organizing a community art project. It's a collective mural that aims to reflect the diverse passions and stories of our residents. The project has been a wonderful opportunity to connect with new neighbors and strengthen bonds with those I've previously met. During one of the mural planning sessions, I met someone who has quickly become special to me. Sam, an artist with a penchant for vibrant watercolors and a heart brimming with kindness, has been a wonderful addition to my life. We're taking things slow, enjoying the process of getting to know each other without the pressure. Our shared passion for creativity has provided a rich foundation for our burgeoning relationship. Connecting with Sam has been a beautifully organic experience. We've shared countless hours exploring galleries, exchanging book recommendations, and embarking on spontaneous adventures. Sam's perspective has added a new layer of joy and introspection to my journey, reminding me of the beauty that arises when you open yourself to new experiences and connections. Back with Mary, while we're not regularly in touch, I heard through the grapevine that she's presented at a conference focusing on the intersection of mental health and personal storytelling. It's reassuring to know she's channeling her journey into something that's both personally transformative and potentially impactful for others. And speaking of transformations, that kooky idea of co-hosting workshops with Dana? It's becoming a reality. We're organizing a weekend retreat called Stories of Resilience, focused on the cathartic power of sharing personal narratives. We're collaborating with therapists, artists, and community leaders to ensure it's a holistic experience. It's thrilling to see our shared vision coming to life, showing once more how adversity can be repurposed into powerful connections. To top it off, the leadership role at work continues to challenge and inspire me daily. I've stepped into a mentorship position, which provides another avenue to share my experiences and learn from the bright minds I work alongside. It's a position that reminds me daily of the value in transparency, empathy, and growth. I guess if there's a theme to this latest update, it's that life, though once tumultuous, has become a patchwork quilt of opportunity, connections, and creative expression. I am grateful, more than ever, for these moments and for the chance to experience life's unpredictably beautiful dance.